All right. So, hey, everyone. Welcome back to the RealTalkLaz Podcast. I am your host, Laz, and today is a special day. It's not only our 10th podcast episode, but I'm also excited to have Eric Hammer join us today. So, Eric, man, it's an absolute honor to have you join, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to hop on the podcast, man. So, thank you.
Oh, Laz, thank you. I'm honored to be here, and the fact that it's episode number 10, I love that we're hitting this milestone together. So it's especially an honor, for real. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And so I know we've talked a little bit, and obviously I've been following you for a while on my both personal and now business account. But I guess for those that may not know who Eric is, who's Eric, man?
It's a deep question if you think about it.
Yeah.
I'm a content creator, full-time content creator.
Awesome.
I'm a Jersey guy, and food is my wheelhouse, food and hospitality. And I've started to dip my toes into the sports world. Actually, dip my toes is not even accurate because I've kind of jumped all in. I left my previous full-time job to pursue content creation, and specifically because of this new project that I'm working on where I'm looking for the best stadium food in the country. So I've been traveling around to different ballparks and stadiums and eating the best that those stadiums and those cities have to offer. But when I'm not doing the stadium tour, my food content has a wide range from me sitting at my kitchen table with my fiance, when we order takeout or delivery, to some of the best restaurants in Manhattan, to some hidden gem restaurants in New Jersey, a little bit of cooking content here and there, and everything in between.
Awesome. No, that's cool, man. Thank you. I'm again much appreciated, and I've been following for a while, and I've taken some of your recommendations and stuff that's local and not, and giving me and the wife the opportunity to travel or look for places like when we travel and such. So appreciate that, and I know a lot of the followers do as well, man. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's been pretty wild that I've had to just accept the truth that people look to me as a resource in New Jersey and sometimes in New York and wherever else I've been. People are interested in where I'm eating, and they want to follow suit if it's a place that I give my own subjective stamp of approval on, which is very weird to come to terms with. But it's been really exciting. It's been great, for real.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah, and actually, in the honor of the podcast this morning, I ordered Uber Eats. I ordered O'Bagel. Got their hangover burrito for the morning. Yeah, I was like, man, dude, this is a fan favorite here. So just to kick off the weekend and kick off the vibes for
perfect,
man. So
incredible.
So cool, man. Well, I appreciate it. So I guess let's jump right in, man. Obviously, my focus here on the podcast is all things mental health related and, kind of the stigma around just mental health in general. And obviously, as a content creator, right, you see a lot of positive, right? And then you always see the stuff that the keyboard warriors, right, that always have their input on all that good stuff. So I guess for you, what's something that you've maybe been through that most people wouldn't guess just by looking at you or seeing your videos?
Yeah, I guess on that note that you sort of touched on, until you're seeing the comments and the DMs and reading all the messages that come your way, as a content creator or as a person who's in the public eye. I don't consider myself like that, but when you are getting comments from strangers, for lack of a better term, it's really interesting. And I think it's easy for someone who doesn't know what that's like to sort of brush it off or just say, oh yeah, just ignore it. And I think I do a pretty good job of that, but I've always made it a point to respond to almost everybody. For years, when I was just, making videos that no one saw, or on Twitter 10 years ago, anytime somebody replied to something that I posted, I would reply back. Anytime, because someone's taking their time out of their day to engage with something that I put out there. Who am I to just ignore that? and this was way before I had aspirations of building an audience. This was day one, day zero. But the same principles apply now. That's how I want to build a community, by actually conversing with people.
Hmm?
I'm going a little bit off track, but
No, all good, man.
there are overwhelmingly positive comments, and people are very supportive and very cool, especially when I meet people in person, right? It's always great. People are really pumped and nice and kind, and it's amazing. But there are negative comments, and there are, haters and trolls. And I believe that the best way to combat that is to kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
Throw a little joke their way, or sometimes play ball with them and go back and forth. Sometimes own whatever they're calling me out on. They might be right. They can call me out on something that maybe I need to be like, you know what, hand up. But then there are people who either take it too far, or it's all that they do, right? You can start to identify the same name. They're commenting something negative every single time, at which point over the past 2 years, I've started to work on not engaging with people just for the sake of engaging, right? Like, am I going to get anything out of it? Am I going to convince a troll to not troll me? Probably not, right? So it's better to sometimes just ignore them, unfortunately. And credit to them, sometimes that doesn't work, and they stay with it, which I have to respect. I don't know what goes on in somebody's brain to hop on their phone and scroll and leave negative comments on everybody's videos. That's probably something that they should do some self-reflection on. But in my seat, I have to try to. I can only give them as much time as they really deserve, and it's not much. So I don't know if it's a surprise and people wouldn't necessarily expect that, something that I've been through. But it's something that I deal with every single day, right? Every video, there's going to be some comments, mostly positive. There's going to be some negatives. And also with food specifically, and this is something that I love, everybody has an opinion, and taste is so subjective, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you and I love the hangover burrito at O Bagel doesn't mean somebody else is going to like it. And that doesn't make us right and them wrong, or them right and us wrong, or anybody better or worse than the other person. It's just different opinions. And for anybody who loves food, people are very passionate about the city that they're in, and the foods that they like, and the things that they think are great, and the places that they love going to. And you can't convince them otherwise. So that is something that I don't think people really understand, that I'm opening myself up to. It's not something that I make people feel bad for me for. It's part of the business. But I cannot win in many ways, because I'm talking about something that somebody hates, or they think something is better, and there's nothing I can do to convince them, and that's totally fine. I love that people are as passionate as I am. Even if we disagree, that's totally fine. And also, if we agreed on everything, that would be pretty boring, right? Especially for something as subjective as taste and food.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, man. So like I just started this content creation journey, if you will, like about 3 months ago, give or take, and some smaller, right? Still growing and still building, right? But for me, like I would always get like a lot of positive feedback, and especially revolving like mental health, and having just the courage to start speaking out, right? But to your point, man, there's always that keyboard warrior that's like trolling in the background, right? Like super negative, like not so much on Instagram so far, right? But I post on YouTube, and dude, there's this one guy who like kept posting every video, and I would delete his comment at first, right? And like just delete it, super negative, right? And then like the next day, bam, back again. Next day, bam, back again. So like the one time I just responded back, I'm like, hey man, I appreciate your feedback. Have a great day. And like you could tell he just stopped, right? So like to your point, just come with kindness, right? But it's just interesting, man. Like people have nothing better to do than just start trolling people, or start being so negative, right? Which is nuts.
Crazy. Yeah. And if you start deleting their comments, a lot of them realize that you deleted it, and you're feeding into it. You've just made it worse by trying to just be like, you know what, let's get this out of here. And somehow you made the problem worse. Those comments and those people, it's coming from a place of jealousy, of some emotion that they, they don't have the courage to be putting themselves out there, and maybe they don't want to be making content, and that's totally fine. But to sit and judge somebody for doing something that they want to do, is crazy. But yeah, people have no better thing to do. It's wild.
No, yeah, and I agree. And I think to the other point that you talked about, like food, like it's crazy to your point. Like, yeah, like we may have the same interests, we may not, and that's totally fine. And, the perspective that you bring may allow me to make my own perspective, my own thoughts, right? And that's the whole point. But yeah, I ran into actually a few weeks back, I was in Asbury Park with my wife, and I ran into Cody Chow's, and he was saying similar as well. Like, it's crazy, man. Like you're so passionate about something, and there's always someone that's like, well, who gets their steak medium or who gets their wings well done, right? It's like, dude, like you have your opinions, we have ours, like it's all good. That's the whole point of, I think, social media is a loud perspective, right? And to give people the opportunity to see new things and understand people's perspective and how they like things. And then you can formulate your own opinion and things like that. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a never ending.
Yeah. And even though I've made a career out of this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert in everything.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't
yeah.
consider myself an expert in much, right? So I'm going into every meal that I have, whether it's something that I've had before or I'm trying something new, I go in with an open mind. I'm ready to learn, and I try to especially when it's something new, I try to approach it with respect. I would ask questions. I want people to guide me. So I definitely don't want to come off as offensive. And that's another thing that people get upset about. It's like, oh, you pronounced this wrong. It's like, I didn't do it on purpose.
It's not
I
intentional.
tried to figure it. It's unintentional. If that's what you want to pick apart, fine. And yes, I probably can do a better job of like learning how to say certain things and the way to eat certain things. People get very particular about that as well. But I know that if I'm coming from a place of genuine curiosity and being interested,
Mm-hmm.
then I have nothing to defend myself for. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to defend myself for, I know it's coming from a good place.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, man, like it's your journey, dude. It's at the end of the day, it's your journey, how you see it. This is out of your lens, right? And that's it. And that's all you can think of, right? Because if not, it'll be like an ongoing, like, well, then you start second guessing yourself. And that's kind of how I did at first when I saw like the few couple like hurtful comments, like you start to second guess yourself. You're like, oh, is this even worth it? I'm like, dude, like the negativity is not even close, like the positivity that I've received so far. And I guess in my eyes, I'm like, I must be influencing enough for people to start getting butthurt, and like start making their own opinions. So I'll take that as a win and then just chalk it up and keep moving.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we're going to talk more about this, but I think that example that you gave is the key. It's deciding which side to
Mm-hmm.
listen to, right? You hear the positive comments, you hear the negative comments. It's very easy to gravitate towards the negative comments and be consumed by it and try to convince all those people that, oh, I'm not this person you think I am. I want you to be on the positive side. But if you simply just turn your head and listen to the positive side, the negative, you don't even hear it, right? And that is just, and that's a microcosm for how I try to live my life, not
Yeah.
just like answering comments, right? It's like choosing positive over negative. And again, I have a feeling we're going to dip into this a little bit more, so I'll hand the mic back to you.
No, for sure, man. And I guess just to pivot off that, I mean, was there a time when you realized like something had to shift, whether it was mindset, perspective, and kind of how you do your day to day?
Honestly, no, there has not been a moment, and I hope that I don't ever have that moment. And I think that the reason that hasn't happened is I have chosen to surround myself with positivity, whether it's the people that I'm spending time with, or the things that I'm doing, or the work that I do, or the music that I'm listening to, or the podcast that I'm listening to, the content that I'm watching. I try to surround myself with things that make me happy. And I've done that for a long time, and I think that has helped me stay level, stay positive, and stay focused on what I want to be doing. I remember when I was working a job in Manhattan, a job that I hated at Ralph Lauren.
Okay.
I was on the corporate side of Ralph Lauren. Everyone loved working there. The people who loved it were working on the fashion side, the creative people. That was not what I was doing, and it's a good thing they'd ever asked me to make any clothes, right? It's not my forte. But nonetheless, I was working in a cubicle on a team of people that people that were much older than me, so we didn't have a lot in common. There was no personal relationships with the people that I worked with, which is totally fine, right? You don't have to be best friends with everybody that you work with. But I was going down a career path that I did not like. I was commuting every day from my parents' house, long days on the bus to go to a job that I didn't like. So I had to try to find, I guess this is sort of that moment, if I had one, of like, okay, I need to find a way to make this situation tolerable and set myself up for something better in the future. So that was listening to podcasts, right? I listened to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk at the time. This is when he was like really on a crazy ascension,
Yeah.
because he was, preaching positivity. And I say what you want about Gary. I'm grateful for that time period of his content, because it really helped me like block out the noise and focus on myself and be positive. And also I was trying to find things to do outside of work that did, stoke my curiosity and fulfill me creatively. So I was doing some part-time jobs and some freelance stuff to flex my creative muscles, because my job was very black and white. I was doing a lot of Excel, a lot of numbers. There wasn't room for me to be myself in my job in many ways. And I quickly realized I would be best in a job where my personality and who I am can impact the job itself, right? It can only be so creative when crunching numbers. So testing the waters and tasting different opportunities and jobs helped put me on a different path. But if I didn't have that job, I wouldn't be in the career I have right now. I wouldn't be on this podcast with you, Laz. I wouldn't. It's all part of the journey. But that moment for me was, I'm in a job I don't like. I'm going down a path I don't like. While I'm on this path, I need to think about how I can get somewhere else and think positive thoughts and surround myself with people and things that I like in the meantime. And in the background, in the shadows, start plugging away and and planting the seeds for a new career path. And that's when I made the shift into marketing and content and social media. And then that has led to so many things, and here we are now. So that was my moment, I guess. I didn't think I had one, but now that I started talking about it, I guess there was that moment.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And I think, there's a couple things. So number one, Gary V, when he kind of, a couple years back per se, when everything started getting better, like he was great, man. There's a lot of times where it was just so relatable, right? Like, you're going through the grind, the hustle and bustle, and he kept talking about his age and how like when he was like 30 to 35, he was working at some like wine store, I think. And now look at him now, right? So that for me kind of kept me going, so I can relate on that. And then also for me, so like I was many years ago in a similar position in my job where I just didn't like it, man. I was commuting from, at the time, my parents in Linden as well, to Yonkers, New York, man. I had to drive over the Gothels every day, the GWB, you name it, just sucked the life out of me. But that kind of positioned myself to what you mentioned, right? Like to pivot in a different perspective, to leave that job, bounce into something else, which then led into where I am today, right? Many years later. So it's crazy how that works. I was recently on a trip to DC and I read it many years ago, but the book Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. Mm-hmm. Great books, man. I mean, it was just fascinating to hear like about his trials and tribulations and how he saw many red lights before he even saw a green light, right? And how every red light or yellow light pushed him into a different direction. And, I'm a big believer that like some things in life, like you don't understand at the moment why they're happening. You get frustrated, you get annoyed, you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But then, fast forward a couple years later, like here you are, right? Here you are in your success that you've been thinking about, you've been hoping for. And unfortunately, there's no like perfect line to success, right? There's no straight line. There's no nothing, right? And that's kind of like the mindset for me where I had to mentally prepare myself like, okay, like either I can bitch and grope about this job every day, right? Or find something positive to leverage me out, right? And, you know, here we are almost a decade later, and I'm very happy I did, right? I'm happy I stuck it out to pivot to something else and boom me to where I am today. You know, because you could feel very stuck in times, and without having that mental shift, like it's not going to get better, right? And no one's going to come and help you. And I think that's the biggest thing where people need to realize, like, if you can't help yourself or think about what's best for yourself, like no one can tell you otherwise as much as they'd like to, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you have to work on yourself before you can, really do whatever it is that you want to do, whether that's personally, professionally. Like it has to start with you to get your and it doesn't mean there's going to be a day where it's like, okay, I've got it, now I can go, right? We're always working on ourselves and trying to be better and learning from the past, whether it was a mistake or not. And I've read the book also, Green Lights. It's terrific. It's also great if you can read it in Matthew McConaughey's voice.
Yeah.
I've heard the audio. I know the audiobook is amazing, but I read it myself just in his voice, so it was almost like an audiobook, and that made the book even more enjoyable. But I really did enjoy it, and I love what you said about how sometimes you don't even know that like this was a turning point, right? Like you might recognize, oh, that moment 5 years ago, that was a green light. I thought it was a red light, and I just changed direction. But yeah, I highly recommend. I highly recommend that book for anybody, whether you're trying to, work on something or not. It's just a terrific book. He's a really cool dude. And one more thing about the Gary Vee videos.
Yeah.
I think what appealed to me at the time was it felt like he was talking to me almost. Right?
Yeah.
It was relatable, like you said, and he sort of opened my eyes to the fact that I'm not too late for anything. I was in my early mid 20s. Like I wasn't finished at all in any way. But it was sort of this eye opener of like, oh no, you don't have to keep going down this path that you don't want to go. You can go that direction, or you can go that direction and then that direction, and then you can come back this way. And there's no timetable. Just because I'm on this path doesn't mean you can't be on that path. And just because I'm going forward doesn't mean that you have to go forward at the same speed.
Yeah.
So it was all a really good time for me to sort of get my head on straight, and stay locked in on what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And even today, man, like I have to figure I'm 33. I always look back and like 32, 33. And I like think to myself like, man, like at times like beat myself up thinking I'm supposed to have it all figured out at 33 years old, man. I'm like, dude, I have the rest of my life ahead of me, right, to figure things out. And, it was challenging at times to realize that, right? But the other thing was like avoiding, what people thought about you, right? And I know we talked about that earlier, but like just like people's opinions and stuff, man, like that was like, for me, my biggest hurdle to even start this channel, right? It's like, hey, I'm working full time, right? Like I'm starting this on the side, right? And what are people going to think about me, right? Especially talking about such a vulnerable topic revolving around mental health, right? But then I'm like, screw it, dude. Like people are going to complain whether I do something or I don't do something. So at least I might as well do something that could potentially have an impact on at least one person. Right. And that to me is a win, right? Every day. Or if someone can relate to my topic or someone can relate to my, Instagram quote that I post every day or whatever the case may be, man, like to me, that's sufficient. And that's kind of what keeps driving me forward. Right. As well.
And it's going to be good for you also.
Yeah.
Right? Like even if it doesn't change somebody else's life.
Yeah.
This is cathartic and it's healthy and it's good for me and you to have this conversation for our own selfish reasons that we may not even realize, right? It's just good to have these talks and be open and vulnerable.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, 100%. All right, cool. So I guess to shift gears, I mean, when working on mental health, right? Like what did that actually look like for you? And obviously I'm sure it's still evolving, right, as days goes on and things like that. But what's that process look like for you?
I've never made a conscious decision to work on my mental health. I'm very grateful for not having, much hardship in my life in that sense. Um, I don't have a lot of people in my life who have major mental health problems. Yes, I have family and friends who deal with their own serious issues, but I've been very grateful that I have never had to sort of flip the switch and start working on my mental health, right? Um, and that's a lot of people have to do that, on a dime. Um, but I think sort of what I said before, um, surrounding myself with people that I I get good energy from. They fill my cup and I fill theirs. Listening to podcasts, reading. I read only nonfiction. I read a lot of like motivational books. Um, like Ryan Holiday is one of my favorite authors. Brene Brown, Austin Kleon, some of my favorites. Um, I've always been into that,
Hmm.
and as since I became, an adult in the real world. Um, so I guess I have always been working on it without recognizing that I've been working on it. And like you said, I continue to work on it. And having conversations like this is actually something that I don't do very often. Um, I'm not very transparent with my feelings and my personal details about myself, which is ironic, maybe because I'm a content creator. I'm putting my life out there in many ways, but I like to keep certain things private. It's just who I am, and I also don't like to pry into other people's lives and ask personal details. But I've also realized that my relationships have suffered because of that, right? Like I'm by not asking questions and not giving details, I'm not unlocking a deeper level with certain people that I wish I did, years ago. But I'm working on that. I'm trying to have more honest, open, vulnerable conversations like this one, and that's with friends, family, acquaintances, anybody. There's no shame in showing those in wearing those emotions on your sleeve and letting people know how you feel. Um, and I think asking questions is something that I'm really working on still. That is something that I am like an active participant in, trying to ask people questions and not asking just to ask because I think I should. Asking because I want to know, and then also like listening and being present and paying attention and retaining that information. Right? How often, Laz, do you meet somebody, they tell you what their name is, and literally 5 seconds later you don't know what their name is. It happens every time, every day. It feels like, right? So I'm trying to work. Maybe that's a stretch to connect that to mental health, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to be more present in my conversations and take an interest in what people are saying, even if I'm not interested in it, right? That's pretty selfish if for me to just sort of turn off my attention span because I don't care what someone else is talking about. They're talking, they care about it. We're having a one-on-one conversation. I want to know what you're into. I want to know what you're saying, and I care. I should care almost as much as you do.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And I think really this question is a unique one because there's no right or wrong, right? And everyone's perspective and of what mental health is, number one, is different, right? Number two, what their experiences are all different, right? So some of my other guests have been in very similar shoes to you, where like they've grown up already with that positive mindset, right? To better themselves, unknowingly kind of working on it in the background, right? But just doing that. And then there's other folks that have had maybe trauma growing up, right? Or grief that they've had to deal with, right? And then shift perspective. So really it's so different, and everyone views a quote unquote problem, right? Differently, right? So what I might think is the end of the world to me may not be for you, right? And vice versa, right? And that's just our perspective. That's just our character. That there's no right or wrong, right? It's just how it directly impacts you, right? And I think the one piece too is like, you know, surrounding yourself in that positivity, man. Like I know we talked about it earlier. Like there's always gonna be negativity around there. Any corner you look at, any post you post online, any video, any in-person interaction, there's always someone that's just there to be grumpy, be butthurt, and bring you down, right? Regardless, right? But I think how you leverage that to just still push forward and be positive, right, is the biggest thing, right? At the end of the day, like, you know, you just want to do what's best for you selfishly, right? And for those around you as well. And I think for me, like I didn't realize it. So I've talked about it in other podcasts. So I'm first generation Hispanic, right? So my parents both immigrated here, you know, legally with the dream of like building a better future for themselves. And then little Laz came down the road a couple years later, and then now here I am, right? So their goal was to, you know, build me a better life. But at the same time, like they were raised in a time where like all the feelings and stuff didn't matter, right? Like you worked hard, you got your money right, you got your goals set, and that was it, right? And then as I started getting older, you know, I started to realize like, hey man, like I could still have a good job, I could still go to a good school, I could still do all these things that are quote unquote living the dream, right? But also talk about and acknowledge feelings too, right? Like I'm not here to just suffer every day and put my head down and keep going. Like I can acknowledge the fact that things are wrong, right? And that's okay, you know. But nowadays it's difficult, and I know a lot of people try to relate to it and they try to make themselves like go into it a little bit more, but you know, it takes time, man. At the end of the day, it takes time, and I think as long as you put like your best foot forward, whether it's on a daily basis or a weekly basis, like that's all that matters, you know.
Heard that, brother. Well said. Yeah, you know, you really don't have to, even if you are providing for yourself or your family, that doesn't mean you need to sacrifice your own happiness. And I say that from a place I don't have kids that I have to support, you know, in every single way. And
Yeah,
I imagine that does change, right? Like your priorities
sure.
will shift. But like you said, you don't need to sign up to be miserable every single day. Whether that's a job, whether that's your, you know, what's going on in between the ears, like it's you owe it to yourself, I think, uh, to make the most out of being here. And that means whatever you want it to mean. It can mean just being happy at your job. It can mean making money and traveling the world, right? It could be whatever you want it to be, but uh, yeah, you don't need to sacrifice that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. And it's funny. Like my wife and I, when we bought our house 4 years ago, you know, we were like, you know, we don't have kids yet either, but you know, we did the whole get a dog thing, man. Right. And so then that, you know, we got a dog, we got a puppy. So he's 4 now. He's a mini Australian Shepherd. And at first, like my wife and I, we had a conversation like, hey, obviously the dog is a priority, right? Like we want to make sure we provide for it, we do everything, but like we can't lose sight of each other, right? Too. And I think that's big because, you know, the dog comes with its own trials, man, its own fun, games, vet bills, right? You name it. And at the end of the day, I'm just like, hey, like we got to stay true to ourselves, right? And do what's best for ourselves first. And then obviously, you know, while still maintaining the interests of our dog. And, you know, many years from now, if we do have kids or whatever that looks like I'm sure we'll pivot. But I think the same principle to what you mentioned is like, hey, having that strong foundation with each other first, ourselves, and then continuing on to pass that on. So,
yeah. And the sooner that you guys start to work on those things, both individually and together, the better set up you are for those pivots down the road, whether it be kids or some other life change, right? Like it's inevitable that something's going to cause you to have to change direction. So yeah, the more we work on ourselves now, the better we're set up for the future.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. And then I guess last question, man, if you can go back in time and talk to young Eric, what would you tell him?
Man, I mean, first I would tell him don't put any stock in the sports teams that you root for.
Yeah.
But after that, I think I would implore him to stop fearing what's difficult.
Hmm.
Um, all things considered, I've been very privileged in my life. I'm not recovering from crazy trauma as a child, or grief. Um, Relatively speaking, I've had an easy life, I think, relative to many other people. Um, but I think as a result of that, I have tried to avoid conflict. And I think adversity builds character, and leaning into the discomfort is important and necessary in many ways. It's how I learn about myself. It's how I learn about others. It's how I learn about how the world works. Um, and it equips me to navigate a lot easier when you're used to being in difficult situations and working through problems, and not just turning the other direction because that direction is scary, right? Like, just because there's something blocking the door doesn't mean that you can't go through that door. And I think a lot of my life, particularly like going through school, I've avoided that extra step of doing what's really difficult just to make it easier for myself. And that's coming from somebody who had very good grades. I think I'm pretty intelligent. I have, a lot of common sense. But I have been working on that lately. Not being afraid of things that are difficult. I think making the switch to being a full-time content creator
Yeah.
sound, there's so many great things to think about. You see so many people who are seemingly so successful as content creators and doing what they do. It's like, oh, why can't I could do that? But also, I know that I'm signing up for things that are really difficult. I'm a business owner now. I don't have a guaranteed paycheck coming in every day or every week or every month.
Yeah.
It's completely on me. Um, and I welcome the challenge. I'm excited to get beat up and take my licks and come out the other side and learn from what I've been doing so far and what I will continue to do. Um, I've not only leaned into the discomfort, but I've completely embraced it.
Yeah, no, and that's great, man. And I think the one point is that you mentioned was like the fear, right, and like the growth that comes behind it, and similar to me, man. Like growing up, I just try to take the easy route, and because it was comfortable, right, and that to me was just like, hey, my home, right, my home base was just being comfortable and not exploring myself to the other perspective until I kind of got into high school and I started to see how people did things, and then I realized like, hey, like they took that leap, right, and they took that leap of faith, and that's how they got there, right. No one's gonna get successful. No one's gonna do things great with staying in that comfortable lane. So like I remember going to school, like I went to a military college up in Vermont, so my college experience was a lot different, right, than anyone else's, which is fine, right? But that pushed me to just be outside my comfort zone, pushed me mentally, physically, you name it, right? And often than not, I just doubted myself, right? I'm like, dude, I can never go through that. I can never do that. I can never graduate. I can never do whatever. And like, I did, right? So that was not only a huge boost of confidence, right, but huge mental, right, breakthrough. Like, dude, if I can make it through this, like I can make it through pretty much anything, right? Or quote unquote, right? But like a lot of challenges, right? So I totally get that. And for you, man, like huge kudos, dude. I remember like watching your video when you're like, hey, like this is it. Like I'm like going full force into content creation. I'm like, dude, good for him, man. Like that's awesome, man. And that's huge, and that's a big bet on yourself, man. And that's amazing, and at the end of the day, like, you mentioned like you're doing all these tours, right? You're doing all this food, like that stuff costs money, man, right? And at the end of the day, like you're betting against yourself, right? And your huge success, and I commend you on that, dude, because that's awesome, that's amazing, and that's a great way to just talk about challenging yourself, right? And betting on yourself is like improving every single day.
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that, Laz.
Yeah.
I knew specifically with the stadium tour, that it was going to be tough and it was going to be all coming out of my own pocket at first. I haven't had any brands come on and help support the stadium tour. I've been fortunate enough to work with some great brands in general, and that's how I make most of my money. But the stadium tour, I knew that was going to be an investment in this project and in myself, and it remains that. That money's coming out of pocket, right? Hotels, flights, food, Ubers, everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I am so confident that I'm going to continue to figure out how to make this thing a sustainable business model. But it is a bet on myself. And it has been challenging. And every day that there is no money coming in from it, it's more and more challenging. But it's on me, right? I have to figure it out, and I'm going to. And it's going to be difficult, and there's going to be wins and there's going to be losses. Probably a lot more losses than wins in the near future, and that's, I don't want that, but I know that in the long term that will be the way that it should be, and I'll be better off, running through those losses.
Yeah. And I think the one thing too is like, you're in it for the long term, right? And I think that's where a lot of folks in social media, especially in content creation, like they think of the short term win, right? And they see, oh man, like for example, like Eric, dude, you're crushing it, you're doing well, and a bunch of other content creators that are doing well now, right? But they don't realize all those long hours you put in before that, right? All the content creation ideas of the videos, planning out stadiums, planning out restaurants, planning out all that stuff, right? That like, it's tough, man. Like even myself, like I told my wife this, like when I first endeavored this whole journey, right, of content creation as well, like, hey, like, I know this is going to be a long-term thing, and I'm okay with that, right? Like, I'm not looking for a quick hit, right? I'm not looking for the next big brand deal, to come immediately. Like, if it does, great. And if it doesn't, that's cool, right? But I think it's the perspective of having that, where a lot of folks where I've seen, it's like they'll do it for a month or two. They don't see the quick viral video. They don't have that quick viral exposure, and they give up. Right. So my advice to everyone, and I talk about this too, it's like, do you just keep going? Think about the long term, and like always think back home to like why you started this, right? Whatever that is in your journey, because it's the long term play that's going to be the best thing for you than that short term outcome or short term, I guess, itch, if you will.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think it's so important for people to ask themselves why they're doing this.
Yeah.
What are they in this for? And we can use content creation as an example, right? Like, why are you trying to why are you making videos? Are you making videos because you see other people growing their accounts and making money and quitting their jobs? It's like, okay, yeah, that's one, that's fine if you want to pursue that. Or maybe you have like a genuine interest in helping people, in giving your opinion on things, in going deep into like a particular niche. I think those are more long-term, sustainable, like that I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. I think by thinking about it that way, you're more in it for the long haul. You're not in it for the quick hit. You're not in it for, you just want to go viral and make money and get sent free shit from a brand. And you see, the time will tell, right? People who will stop after a couple of weeks, they're probably not in it for the right reasons, or they don't have the patience to eat shit for a little while. I think it might have been Gary Vee actually, who years ago said, "Eat shit now, eat caviar later."
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to go through the down days, and you have to be willing to have those losses, right? Like, if you want to get into shape and get big muscles, you can't go to the gym for 2 weeks and all of a sudden you're strong. You need to put the reps in every single day without seeing the results. They're all little pieces to the overall puzzle. You need to show up every single day ready to work, even when you don't want to, even when the negative comments are coming through, even when no comments are coming through, when no one's seeing your stuff. If you are consistent and you have good intentions and you're willing to eat some humble pie because you're going to have to, We all do, myself
Well,
included. You have as well.
mm-hmm.
If you're willing to do that, then you might be able to taste some of the success once you work through that. But guess what? It ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm.
There are still down days for me. Laz, when you blow this podcast up, there's going to be down days for you after
Mm-hmm.
you have some massive success, right? Like you always have to be working on it, and you always have to be ready to show up and be consistent.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think the biggest thing is just having that mindset. Like, you can tell, and I'm sure you can tell too, like folks online, like who's in it just for the quick buck or who's in it to genuinely like help others, right? And genuinely there for the right reason. And yeah, I think you just got to pivot through all that and keep pushing through. And, there's times where I make videos and I think like, dude, I'm going to get a greater success than I thought I would. And then I get like nothing. Right. And then the videos where, I'm pushing out through because I want to. And I think, maybe it's not the best topic or it's not maybe as relatable to me. And then it does really well. Right. So it's crazy, right? That to your point about the ebbs and flows. But I think ultimately, man, it's just keep pushing through and pushing through the noise, and then everything will come through to fruition over time, especially with sincerity and being just genuine overall, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also would preach for people to keep in mind, and this is not just for content creation, this is for life in general, that somebody's win doesn't take away from you. Just because someone else is winning doesn't mean that you're losing. We all can win. Like, there's enough pie to go around. There's enough slices to be consumed. You see people online say like everybody wants someone to do better, but just not better than them.
Yeah.
So it's like we root for somebody and then they start to have success and then you start to try to tear them down. It's like just because they are, in your eyes, winning or succeeding doesn't mean that it's taking away from your opportunity to win or to succeed. I forget the analogy with honey and vinegar. Like honey is sweeter than vinegar. Honey is shit. It would have been a sick way to end this too. It's some quote about like honey being more.
Let's see.
Accelerated, fuck.
Let's look up here. Honey and vinegar quote, I guess, or saying.
Yeah, save me here, Laz.
I got you, man. I got you. Is it you catch more flies with honey than vinegar?
There it is.
That's it, man. You hear it first. So catch more flies with honey than vinegar. And I think ultimately the best way of life, man, is stay true to yourself and stay positive and keep it moving, man. So I appreciate you, man, jumping on. I can't thank you enough for doing this with me. I think, there's more folks like yourself in life and other guys I've done, and even women too, that are just about mental health, right? And breaking that stigma overall, because dude, we have one life, man, at the end of the day, and you got to live it positively and fun. And whether it's content creation, whether it's just working, traveling, whatever that is to you personally, like you just got to do it to the fullest, man. So again, I can't thank you enough. And I think for the viewers, man, where can they find Eric on social media and all that good stuff?
That was very well said. Thanks for closing it out that way. Yeah, you guys can all find me on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm on YouTube now. I'm trying to grow my account there.
Awesome.
I'm at the Eric Hammer across all those platforms. A lot of people think my name is Rich or Rick because of the way that my name is spelled out.
Okay.
My name is Eric, but that's we can tackle those. We can tackle that problem another day. But yeah, I'm out here. I'm eating every single day. I'm trying to keep things light and conversational and fun. It's just as much about the conversation as it is the food for me, right? It's like being at the dinner table among friends and family. That's what it's all about for me. And if you're into sports and traveling, I am traveling around looking for the best stadium food in the country, going to different baseball stadiums. Football season's around the corner. Hockey and basketball are coming up. There's colleges. This is never ending, and this is just the beginning. I'm really just I'm just starting to scratch the surface. So I'm really excited to keep this thing growing. And thank you, Laz, for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
No, same here, man. And yeah, let's see what see what the future holds, man. I know, like you said, football just started yesterday, and then we got I'm unfortunately a big Giants fan, so we'll see what that season looks like this year. But maybe we can tackle something over at MetLife this season. And
let's do it, brother.
So cool, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. And then we'll talk soon, man.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Thanks, man.